Hi everybody, welcome to the St. Catharines Museum in Welland Canal Centre. My name is Adrian and I'm here on the viewing platform to give you a tour of Lock 3. I just want to note before we get started that this tour is really meant to be a very quick introductory video to locking through, and I know that there's so much detail that we just won't have time to cover. So if you have any questions or comments, you can put them in the comment box below and we'll get back to you. Awesome, thanks for joining us for the video. Let's talk about the canal. The canal is a bit like a staircase that raises and lowers ships over the Niagara Escarpment. The height we raise and lower ships is the same as Niagara Falls. Can you imagine trying to move a ship up over Niagara Falls? It would kind of be like trying to get from the first floor of your house to the second floor of your house without any stairs. Our staircase is stretched out over the 43 kilometers that separates Lake Ontario from Lake Erie. Okay. So let's talk about the staircase. Each stair on the staircase is called a lock, and that's where the ship actually gets raised or lowered. On the Welland Canal, there are 8 stairs or locks. But how does that work? How does a lock really work? Well, the ship enters the lock and then we fill the lock up with water or drain the water out of the lock. It's kind of like how your bathtub works at home. If you fill your bathtub with water, your rubber ducky goes up with the water. And if you drain your bathtub, then your rubber ducky goes down with the water. So in a way, a lock is kind of like a bathtub, only in the lock we have gates on each end, and there's a little bit more technology at work. Let's take a closer look at how a lock works. So if we imagine that our lock is like a bathtub, where does the water come from? Do we turn on a tap and just let it fill up the lock? Well, we don't turn on a tap, but we do open a valve called a sluice valve. The valve is underneath the water and inside the walls of the lock. All along the bottom of the lock are big openings which let the water into the lock or drain the water from the lock. The canal is completely operated by gravity, and so the water is always moving downbound. If we want to fill the lock, we let water in from the channel above, as you can see here, and if we want to drain the lock, we let water out the bottom of the lock. Each lock on the Welland Canal holds approximately 90 million liters of water. That's 300,000 bathtubs! And it fills or drains in approximately 10 minutes. A ship going through the lock is called locking through. When a ship is locking through to go downbound, they enter the lock from the south. When a ship is locking through to go upbound, they enter a drained lock from the north. But before they do, there are some safety things we need to make sure are in place. Because the ships are so big, we put a big cable across the lock so that just in case the ship isn't able to stop, it will not hit the big gates. I like to think of it as a seatbelt. The arresting arm is what puts the seatbelt in place. So before the ship comes into the lock, the arresting arm places the cable down. Then when a ship is tied up and secured in the lock, it goes down and removes the cable so that when the ship is finished locking through, it can continue on its way. It's the opposite when a ship is coming upbound from the north. The ship will come into the lock, tie off, raise up to the top of the lock, and before it's released, the arresting arm comes down and drops the seatbelt so that when the ship is released, the ship has no chance of moving backwards into the gate. Driving a ship is kind of like driving a big school bus from the back. So to help the pilot know how much space is at the front of the ship while inside the lock, a big screen counts down the number of meters left until the pilot needs to stop the ship. Very handy. While the ship is being locked through, it is secured into place so it doesn't move around. Ships are secured here at Lock 3 with the Selfmooring System. It's those big yellow robotic arms. On the end of each arm is a big suction cup that sticks onto the side of the ship and keeps it from moving. It doesn't raise or lower it, it just holds it while the ship goes up or down. Then we close the gates and begin locking through. Once the ship has been raised or lowered, the self-mooring system suction cups let go of the ship, the gates will open, and the ship gives a big honk of its horn before it continues to the next lock. Can you honk your horns really loud? Go ahead, honk as loud as you can. The Welland Canal is really cool. we're so fortunate to be able to watch the ships come and go. If you really enjoyed this video, check out in the description for a video of a ship actually locking through. It's really, really cool. Thanks so much for joining me on a tour of Lock 3. If you have any other questions about the lock or about the canal, you can reach out to us on Facebook at facebook.com/St. Catherine's Museum, on Twitter or Instagram at STC Museum, or leave us a comment below. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.